Okay, can anyone see me? Can you see me? Okay, good. Okay, bizarre stuff. Bizarre stuff, to say the least. Bizarre stuff. Okay. Technical, not technical, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay. Anyway, how's everyone doing? So, sorry for the delay, guys. For some reason, I can't see. No, I can't see my screen, my main screen. I can see it on the phone, but I can't see it on the screen. But you can see me. Okay. As long as you can see me and hear me, we're fine. So if you can hear me well and see me well, then that's enough. So you can see me well and hear me well, and we're okay. Okay. All right. Now shall we place this so I can keep monitoring you? Okay. Now you're going to have to bear with me because I restarted everything. So I'm going to have to get hold of the info that I wanted to share with you tonight. Again, I hope everyone's doing well. And I sent you, I posted a couple of videos earlier on, and I have another video coming up. Interesting stuff, interesting developments we had today from Yemen, from Iraq. I have another video coming about Turkey, by the way. Okay, everyone can see me, can hear me. That's perfect. Gulliberg saying Gilad Erdan keeping you keeping you away from us. No, it must be, I don't know, a technical issue or whatever, but as long as you can hear me, that's fine. Okay. I initially intended to speak with you in this live stream, by the way, about an article where some of the soldiers who are active in Jabalia spoke to Haaretz, saying it's they're using the word Sisyphean a lot, right? Basically, an action that's not productive. You keep going around in circles without getting any results. The IDF chief used it, the soldiers used it, and now the man that I want to talk to you about is using it. His name is Yitzhak Brik. He's a general in the IDF, Yitzhak Brik, and I quoted him previously in some of his articles. He was one of those people who were very critical about the war and how it's operated, and now he's saying it outright. And I hope I put the title correct. Yes, we're losing to Hamas, and the worst is yet to come. Perfect. At least I got that right in the live stream tonight. Okay, so what did he say? He had an article in an Israeli newspaper called Ma'arif. By the way, thank you for your patience, everyone. Maria and everyone, thank you for your understanding. So we have an article in the Israeli newspaper Ma'arif. He published an article there. The main title was Losing to Hamas and Losing Egypt. The war captains are leading Israel to disaster. The war captains, the war leaders, in reference to the war cabinet, are leading Israel to disaster. In which he stated many interesting things, by the way. 5 captains in the limited war cabinet are bringing the state of Israel to a catastrophe the likes of which we have never had before. This is how we started. 5 captains in the limited war cabinet are bringing the state of Israel to a catastrophe, the likes of which we have never had before. You know, some people will criticize, right? Will watch my videos and say, oh, you know, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We're almost done. We're almost done. Don't want to listen to me. Listen to the Israelis. I'm quoting them. Been quoting them since the beginning of this genocide. But some people are more keen on Israel than devout Zionists. It's bizarre. It's absurd. They want to make sure its image is crystal clear and go against every evidence that we're seeing on the ground and nothing. Israel's fine. Israel's great. Real Sheikh Apia, thank you so much for your super thanks. He continued in his article. The captains are Netanyahu, Gallant, Herzi Halevi, whose spirit and positions line the members of the cabinet even if he does not sit with them, with the exception of the meetings to which he is invited. Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot. Everyone is directly responsible for what happened on the 7th of October 2023, in a mission we have never experienced before. This whole group is also directly to blame for us losing to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Losing to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. There you go. Finally. Listening now, we have confirmations, thankfully. From who? From IDF generals. Thank you. And worst of all, the worst is yet to come. They make decisions that bring us to the point of crushing the settlements of the North and the South, the army, the economy, our relations with the world, society, and the state, and the incidents inside the state. How is it possible that this group is responsible for the biggest failure and disaster since the establishment of the state is running the war cabinet for us? There is no greater absurdity than this in the history of the state of Israel. Anywhere else, they would have long since faced a tribunal for criminal negligence. Is this a nation that has not matured after 75 years to manage its homeland? A nation that allows such captains to continue managing its life and wars? We have become a banana republic in every sense of the word. In every sense of the word. That's not how you build a wall. Only recently did the captains in the limited war cabinet decide to expand the war in Rafah. Even though their previous decisions resulted in hundreds of our soldiers being killed and thousands of wounded when they captured 80% of the Gaza Strip, excluding Rafah. After the occupation, they removed our forces from the Strip and Hamas took control of the entire area again. Hamas took control of the entire area again. Why? Because they were under the ground, got up the ground, everything is under control. And we've been saying that ever since the beginning of this genocide. Back and forth raids on territories we conquered and then left will not collapse Hamas, but will increase the number of dead and wounded to our forces even more. That to me sounds like someone who actually cares about the Israeli people, has some sort of regard for Israeli life, looking outside the neti bubble. Against the background of the crisis in relations, in recent days, expressed threats have been heard in Egypt from members of the media and researchers close to the regime in Cairo to harm the relations between the countries to the point of suspending or canceling the peace agreement. Egypt announced today that the country is expected to join and support South Africa's lawsuit against Israel in The Hague, following the recent actions of Israel in Rafah. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry stated that Israel is directly harming civilians in Gaza and destroying many infrastructures. Egypt today has the strongest army in the Middle East, 4,000 tanks, of which 2,000 are modern, hundreds of modern fighter planes, the strongest navy in the Middle East. The turning of the Egyptian army against us is a drama of which the state of Israel has no solution. Something also we spoke about previously about Egypt and them, their military capabilities, their preparation for Israel, the fact that they're superior to Israel when it comes to the military. Since Egypt was considered a peaceful country for many years, Israel did not build a force to stand against it, not even a single tank. Canceling the peace with the Egyptians is a security catastrophe for the state of Israel in every sense. In this situation, we have no choice but to pray to God, and everything is the handiwork of a bunch of fools who manage the war for us in the limited war cabinet. The guy is very straightforward. And that's in Maariv, by the way, one of the most popular Israeli newspapers, and I found it recently. That's why I focused on it rather than, and I spoke briefly about the soldiers who were complaining about Jabalia, saying it's a Sisyphean operation, it's not productive, and they're demoralized and frustrated. Similar to the IDF chief, really. They are going to bury our country. They are going to bury our country. This is a red light and an emergency alarm for all Israeli citizens. Let me repeat what Yitzhak Brik is saying, who is an IDF or was an IDF general, top senior positions in the army. They are going to bury the country, in reference to the war cabinet, Netanyahu and his crew. This is a red light and an emergency alarm for all Israeli citizens. In addition to this, without replacing the civil government of Hamas, there is no chance of achieving victory over it. The collapse of Hamas civil government and its replacement by another government is not in sight. Bibi does not want to discuss this. A Sisyphean, again he's using it now, war of attrition can develop that will last many years against Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, which will cause the country to collapse from within. Collapse and buried. Notice the terminology. IDF general. He continued. The entrance to Rafah will be the last nail in the coffin of our ability to collapse Hamas. According to him, this entrance to Rafah collapsed their probability to take down Hamas. And look how this is evident on the ground, by the way. Firstly, you have a very limited attack in Rafah, an area in which they're being targeted very heavily. And as a matter of fact, look at my video from yesterday and all of the announcement of the resistance, so much documentation as well. And today carried on, but yesterday was probably the worst day since the beginning of this genocide. So to him, this entrance to Rafah will be the last nail in the coffin to our ability to collapse Hamas. What does that mean? We're not going to collapse Hamas. This is what that means. Read between the lines. The regional war is upon us, and it will be hundreds of thousands times more serious and terrible than the war in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands more serious and terrible than the war in Gaza. The captains running our war with their decisions are bringing us closer to a general regional war and are not preparing either the army or the home front for that war, which will be the most terrible of all Israeli wars, the coming war. 3 of them, Bibi, Gallant, and Herzi Halevi, with all their heart for the war to continue in order to save their lives from the disaster, from the same catastrophe. they brought upon the people of Israel on October the 7th. They brought upon the people of Israel on October the 7th. People blaming Israel. You have people here sitting, calling themselves intellectuals and journalists, talking about Hamas and the 7th of October, and the Israelis are blaming the Israel leadership for the 7th of October. What more do you want than that? I know they're not talking about the level of liability when it comes to massacres in the Nova Festival and in Be'eri, near Oz, Ra'im, I know that, but they're putting the responsibility on the Israeli leadership. Yet you have people who call themselves intellectuals and journalists in the West still banging on about the same pseudo narrative and fabrications about the 7th of October and focusing on the civilians that Israel killed and ignoring the Hamas's military campaign, the successful military campaign against Israel, in particular the Gaza division, and ignoring all evidence from everyone about the complicity of Israel in the massacres, and that Israel massacred most Israelis on the 7th of October who are not related to the army. He continued, the other two, Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot, crushed the capabilities of the army by being chiefs of staff and responsible for the cuts to the military personnel, and now they want to justify their entry into the government. That's why they became identical twins to Bibi. All of them are thinking about the day after now, not just Bibi Netanyahu. They're sharing the same fate. They want a political career. They want their political future. Now they're all the same according to him, which is something that changed during the course of the war, by the way. It wasn't the same in the beginning, but the more Netanyahu prolonged it, the more the other members of the war cabinet started to be like him when it comes to thinking about themselves in the day after, regardless of the Israeli public. The main thought nestling in their hearts, what move to take in the Gaza Strip that the majority of the people are expecting so that it will bring their party more mandates. Not long ago, Gadi Eisenkot supervised and even wrote the decisions made in the limited war cabinet regarding the moves made in the Gaza Strip. Are decisions from a tactical, not a strategic point of view. And at the end of the day, will not bring down Hamas. But very quickly, Gadi Eisenkot returned to his room, apparently. Benny Gantz and his party members whispered in his ears that his position could steal mandates from the party, especially the right-wing members of them. Look at that. Making war decisions based on mandates after the war. Who's dealing with the blood of the Israeli people? I told you, these people are careless about Israeli people and Israeli people's lives. They're using them as cannon fodder. They couldn't care about anything else apart from themselves. Career politicians, selfish people, narcissistic. They'll sell anything for their political survival and for their political greed. He continued, they will run away from it because the public wants to hear what Bibi says. Hamas is completely destroyed. The public wants to hear what Bibi says. Hamas is completely destroyed. Even though his statements are cliches that have no real meaning and have no basis in reality. He continued with that. These captains are putting us in the mud as we were in the Lebanese mud for 18 years, with one very big difference. Then we had several more divisions that could replace the divisions fighting, according to him, terrorism, obviously. That's exclusive to him. That's their terminology, not mine. Thus maintaining the force's ability to continue fighting it for a long time. Today, after the drastic cut of the ground forces, we have no redundancy in the ground forces. The associations, brigades, and battalions that fight terrorism have no other forces to replace them. This is also the reason that after the occupation of 80% of the Gaza Strip, we removed all the fighting forces from the Gaza Strip because there were no other forces that could replace them after half a year of continuous fighting. There you have it. A confirmation that the IDF is incapable. But a question arises here before I continue to the article. You have a division that's not willing to fight in Gaza. It's in Lebanon. They don't need all of them in Lebanon. It's a whole division. A whole division. At their peak, there were over 70,000. He continued, the meaning is the attrition of the fighters to the bone, a phenomenon that is already emerging today, and you can see its first buds. The erosion is evident in the refusal of dozens of paratroopers to re-enlist and return to fighting, and in the letter from the parents of 400 fighters who wrote to Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot that they would not allow their sons who had been fighting for 6 months to re-enlist and fight in Rafah. There you have it. This is an erosion that may expand if they continue a war that has already lost its purpose and has not achieved its goals. The situation of the IDF today is that it does not have the power to collapse Hamas even if the war is prolonged. Listen, please listen carefully, okay? This is an IDF general. The situation of the IDF today is that it does not have the power to collapse Hamas even if the war is prolonged. More than that, the IDF is unable to keep Hezbollah away from beyond the Litani River. Yeah, of course, you can't. And allow the return of 100,000 displaced people to their homes in the northern Galilee. No benefit will arise from the continuation of the fighting inside of the Gaza Strip, and we will suffer very serious damage to the country and its citizens. The continuation of the fighting will collapse within a short period of time. The reserve army will collapse within a short period of time. The reserve army, which Israel relies heavily on. And with it, the entire land army, the economy, the international relations, and the society torn from the inside. Since we will not achieve the goal of destroying Hamas, and we may in a short time lose the lives of the rest of the abductees, there is only one way to get out of Egypt. There is only one way out to get out of Egypt. I think he's meaning with the problem with Egypt, by the way. For Israel to declare a cessation of hostilities and for a period of time and allow the return of our abductees and the displaced to their homes. Equally important is to restore the army, the economy, the society, and the international relations, and to prepare the army for a multi-arena regional war for which we are not prepared at all. The war will come upon us sooner than later and may destroy the country if we do not prepare for it. Now, it is still possible to declare a cessation of hostilities, and as a result, Hezbollah will stop firing at our settlements. If we don't declare a ceasefire now, we have no guarantee that in a few months, Hamas and Hezbollah will be ready to stop fighting. Even if Israel is ready to end it, they will understand that the war of attrition against us works in their favor, and in a short time, the state of Israel will collapse in on itself. Last sentence. For those who haven't figured out yet, President Biden is totally on our side. He is trying to save us from ourselves and bring about a cessation of hostilities and prevent the disaster for the state of Israel, disaster led by the captains in the limited war cabinet. This, and I read some of Brick's previous criticisms, and he, by the way, one thing that's significant about Yitzhak Brick, who was an IDF general previously, is that he predicted the 7th of October. The man predicted that the 7th of October is about to happen. Hamas had a drama series about them attacking. They had big signs on their watchtowers in Gaza saying, Ra'im, here we come. What, did Israel not see that? He warned Israel that Hamas are preparing a massive campaign. No one listened to him. And no one listened to him, apart from the other signs that they received, which obviously hints to a bigger plan. Okay, the ethnic cleansing, the gas, the Ben Gurion Canal, all of these things. But this in particular, by the way, and in case you haven't seen some of my previous videos, the head of the Mossad, Tamir Prado, said similar things previously. He said, if we continue down this path, that was 5 months ago, we're doomed, literally, alongside other senior figures in the Israeli intelligence community and military community as well. And the funny thing is, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli leadership was ignoring them all of the time. Although in Israel, by the way, similar to other countries too, people who were in key positions in the Mossad, in the intelligence agency, in, excuse me, the army, they take advice from previous heads. So if you have a current chief or current head of an intelligence establishment, organization, they will go and they will take advice. And as a matter of fact, the current head of the Mossad was taking advice from Prado, the same one who said we're doomed if we continue down this path. But even Benjamin Netanyahu himself has been ignoring the current head of the Mossad. But this article is probably one of the most straightforward articles that I have read in the Israeli media that describes things almost as they are. Obviously, you need to understand the man is a profound Zionist who cares about Israel and wants to preserve it as a Zionist entity. Let's not forget that. But it just shows how much the Israeli government is completely careless about, number one, the Israeli people, and it shows its disregard for anyone within the military and intelligence establishment when it comes to advice about Israel's most crucial war in its history. Many people in Israel already said this is the worst time of our life. This is the worst period for Israel. But you still have people like Yitzhak Brik who say it as it is. And I'm a bit surprised that Ma'arif, by the way, published it. Usually he had a couple of things posted in Haaretz. However, uh, these statements are becoming a bit more mainstream now in Israel, and they're not like negligible. Now, if they're being published on mainstream media, there's basically more pressure to try and obviously change things around. And that was obviously what I wanted to talk to you about. Now let me open up the space up for you, see what you guys are up to, what you're talking about. And again, welcome everyone. Tashikom is asking, do you think the Mossad has anything to do with the attack on the Slovakia's minister? I have no idea, to be fair, because I haven't read too many details. I just heard that he's in a critical condition, but I don't have enough information about that because I haven't really read into it too much. Ramplant saying, so these people still want a future war. They will never recognize, never apologize, and never go. No, because that's Israel for you. That's Israel for you. Israel is a neo-colonialist apartheid state. And this is how it was established. The only difference is you have Zionists who want to preserve Israel as a Zionist entity who know their limits, and you have the Zionists who are delusional and mad and insane. The others might have plans, by the way, for expansion, for example, for occupying more territories and what have you, but they're not as blatant and as stupid as the current government. And by the way, we're fortunate to an extent to have a government in Israel that is as blatant as Benjamin Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich, so that they can show the whole world exactly how they operate. Because previous governments in Israel that were not considered to be the most extreme right wing, they carried out these things, but on a low heat. They enabled the settlement establishment. They supported troops who were abusing people on a daily basis, killing them, imprisoning them for no reason. They were supporting all of that. So there's a lot of double standards and things that contradict. The Alchemist, thank you so much for your super thanks. You said, it is amusing how the individuals claiming to be natives so quick to flee the airport at the slightest hint of danger from a missile or a bullet. Exactly. People of Gaza, particularly North Gaza, by the way, even after they suffered the heavy initial period of this attack, they wanted to remain there. Why? Because they are the owners of land, but not just because of that and because of their faith and unbelievable resilience. It's because they have the experience. 72% of them are already refugees. In some parts, it's 90%, like Rafah. Approximately 92% of the Rafah population are refugees, which is higher than the Gaza total average, which is about 72%, 73%. So they know who they're dealing with. And to them, they didn't want to repeat the same mistake. I would think so. Do you think they will not want to enter Rafah with the infantry mechanical because of these issues, or you think Yahoo will still push? Netanyahu already knew this because the IDF chief of staff already told him all of this 4 months ago when he was talking about Rafah. Yet Netanyahu decided to press ahead and continue, but they had this plan to create it in the people's heads that were in Rafah. Okay, you went into parts of Rafah. You're obviously not established anywhere. You get beaten and attacked everywhere you are, even the Rafah crossing from zero distance from anywhere, really. We had these people popping up from, we had a few tanks established in one of these locations. All of a sudden, a resistance fighter pops out from the ground where surrounded by tanks and troops. Plants Shuwav, explosive devices on two tanks, and another one blows the Yasin 105, and they disappear. And bang, bang, bang. And that's in an area where they feel safe. So they already had a plan. The IDF chief obviously resisted it because he knew the capability and the limitations of the IDF and their preparedness and everything to do with the equipment and the type of people who are in the battle. By the way, let's not forget that you're talking about Division 99, which consists of brigades such as Kfir and Netzach Yehuda and what have you. Many of them don't have urban warfare experience even. These people are just used to policing and bullying people and killing them for fun in the West Bank, abusing 10-year-old girls and boys and shooting them. They don't have urban warfare experience. The most experienced division is 36, and it's on the Lebanese borders, which consists of Golani and some other older, more traditional Israeli brigades. The IDF chief knows all of that. But as a settlement with Benjamin Netanyahu, they said we'll invade east of Rafah and then we'll continue. Look at the blatant lies as well. And that's why they caused frustration within the army. They weren't thinking ahead. They're not thinking about one day ahead. So you're telling the nation and everyone in the world and the country, it's only Rafah, only Rafah, only Rafah, only 4 brigades, only 4 brigades. We're going to go, we're going to finish it, and then we're going to reach a ceasefire. And then you send your army to Jabalia, and they get wiped off. The losses that Israel suffered in the past 5 days are most likely unprecedented during the last 7 to 8 months. Take that from me. I have not seen this level of attacks, this level of documentation, this level of taking down houses with full forces inside them, tanks left, right, and center, everything. So that's why they're calling it a Sisyphean operation, that it's pointless, they're demoralized, obviously, and that they're frustrated because they went into a place that they supposedly finished off. So if you're in an army, you've been battling for 6 months, you just want to go home and have a rest and what have you. And then you're being told, oh no, you're deployed again to the same place. And you go back, you get one massive whipping. And the genocidal child murderers, what do? They still target the civilians because they stand no chance against the Palestinian resistance. Do you know what they did today? They targeted people waiting in an internet cafe, next to an internet link place to try and get a signal. They bombed them. What is that? Anyone trying to get aid, anyone trying to get, they'll bomb them. What kind of what is that? Alex Glantz, thank you so much for your super thanks. And if I'm sorry if I missed anyone, by the way. Said the Alchemist and Noah HDP, thank you. And Stephen Burrows, thank you so much. Stephen Burrows, yeah, I know. You said I can't stop thinking about the boy in Gaza who had his brain blown out today. I know, I saw that image. And I to be fair, I couldn't look. A boy with his brain blown out. Live. But that's the reality in Gaza. Awful images, you said, which the world needs to see. This defeat can't come soon enough. I agree. And I pray for all of these people. All of them, but they will emerge victorious, despite all of the sacrifices and all of the losses. Koopa Koop is asking me, okay, but do you condemn Hamas? I condemn everyone who condemns Hamas. Anyone who condemns Hamas, I condemn them. Condemn Hamas, I'll condemn you. That's what I can. Imdad saying, Brother Muhammad, why they keep hiding their death toll? Because they don't want to do. They're already in such a defeated state. You're talking about a national catastrophe in Israel. People don't talk about that very much. Israel is mourning 24/7. It's mourning its existence. A nation is defeated mentally, psychologically, lack of sense of security, lack of certainty, no certainty whatsoever for one day ahead. So imagine them publishing the real numbers. Snoopster, thank you so much for your super thanks. And that was from Imdad Kazem. Stephen Boris saying, I recall Hassan Nasrallah saying years ago that Gaza was the least propitious ground for guerrilla warfare, being flat and surrounded on all sides, but that the Zions could not win. He was correct. Yes. Because you have people and they obviously prepare. NYC Bread 92, the Palestinians are showing bravery not seen on this earth in generations. No, absolutely. Telling you, if Netflix or any other media company want to make a Lifetime series, then they'll make it on Gaza. From now up until the next century. Gullyburg is Israel in the same situation Germany was in 1945. I don't think so. Because obviously you have the historical differences, the size, the type of government that was leading them, obviously apart from the bigoted racist element of the Nazist, fascist, supremacist, Aryan race mentality, and them doing it from a Jewish perspective. Many people in Israel call them Judo-Nazis, fascists, and committing that like the Nazis did to the Jewish people. But what I would say is, and it's not me saying that, it's obviously observing from what Israel is saying, but I thought that from the 7th of October that this was the worst time in Israel, because I've never seen anything like that before. But if you listen to the Israelis, they will tell you this is the worst time in their history. Obviously, you have the difference in history and time, the levels of armies, with Germany talking about a world war. Now, obviously, you have some sort of affiliations, but it's not to that level. However, what I would say is that it could reach that level pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. It doesn't take a lot. All it takes is for Israel to proceed with its arrogance and its delusions when it comes to Gaza for the sake of Benjamin Netanyahu, his affiliates in their political career, capitalizing on everyone, really. Look, they don't care about the Israeli people. They indoctrinate them, they brainwash them, and they send children to go and die. For who? For a satanic death cult, for a neo-colonialist, supremacist state. Doesn't mean they're innocent. No, they're not. They're criminals. All of them are criminals. Anyone participating in this genocide is a criminal. And anyone covering up is an accomplice, right, in this crime. But it could very much escalate pretty quickly. And the more Israel drags it, the more likely it is to escalate. And many other countries, they would have an excuse. Look, everyone has an excuse by now. Listen, imagine Iran attacked Israel in the same manner that they did without this genocide happening. Would we have had the same response? The US used to threaten Iran previously. If they try and mess with Israel, they'll be hitting them. Now, they gave Israel the cold shoulder. Obviously, they still enable them, they still support. We know all of that. But it wouldn't have been the same. And the more Israel drags this, the more likely it is to have a bigger conflict that will be very, very, very bloody. Hanife Demiral, thank you so much. And Virzak, thank you so much. Virzak is asking me, what's the difference between the Goyim and the Kuffar? Well, the Goyim is a reference that some Jewish people obviously use for non-Jews. It can have derogatory meanings, depends on really how you translate it. Some people don't mean to use it in a derogatory manner, but usually when you use it, it's a little bit derogatory. Kuffar, from an Islamic perspective, kafara, as in a denier of truth, kafar. And from an Islamic perspective, the title kafir, right, or an infidel, right, the translation of it is an infidel, is in particular to someone who does not accept the truth in particular, or at least in generally, right, referred to as accepting the religion after they have been submitted with the sufficient evidence. And obviously, there are different interpretations to this in the Muslim world. Some people call anyone a kafir in the Muslim world. Any non-Muslim, they'll call him a kafir, right? Which I totally disagree with, by the way. Many leading scholars in the Muslim world, many of them were in the figure of Sheikh al-Azhar, by the way. One of them, if I'm not mistaken, his name is Mahmoud Shaltut, I think, amongst others, really. They have a very rigid and thorough definition as to who you can give the title kafir to, and they say that you have to have been shown the evidence sufficiently for someone, right? Assuming that they're seeking, and then they would deny it. For example, I'm showing you evidence in your face, right? You're seeing it undeniably. You insist not to believe it. Then I can give you, or from a religious perspective, you deserve the title kafir or an infidel. But again, that's something that some Muslims would disagree with me from this definition. But this is my obviously understanding about it. So I hope that elaborates, and thanks for the question. The alchemist, kafir means Netanyahu. Kafir means Netanyahu, the alchemist is saying. Okay, where do we reach? Abid's asking me, you hear about Jordan intercepting arms heading to Gaza? Really? No, I haven't heard about that. Hold on a second. Jordan thwarts Iran-linked weapons plot as Hamas denies. Okay. And then you have Hamas denies Jordan arms smuggling claims. Okay. That was published in Al Mayadeen. Amman claimed that a foiled weapon smuggling attempt allegedly planned to Hamas to incite acts of sabotage against the ruling pro-Western monarchy. The state-owned news agency Patron said on Wednesday. Conversely, a senior Muslim Brotherhood representative said the arms were probably meant for the West Bank. I highly doubt that Hamas would. The only one who'd be interested in doing that is Israel, really, or Jordan to demonize Hamas because obviously because of their popularity in Jordan, to show the people as if, oh look, Hamas are against us. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a government act to. Because what on earth is in Hamas's interest to do anything against Jordan now, as a country? It's very ambiguous, in my opinion. Tashikoma saying, I hear that Hamas have hostages from years ago too. Who are they? One of them is called what are their names? Jeez, I forgot their names. Okay. They have four. Oron Shaul is one of them, suspected to be dead. Another one, something is Sayyid, Abra Mengistu, and another one. And they held them approximately since 2014. And they were, the fact that Hamas have them and Israel refused, and some of them are alive, definitely, by the way. And they, by the way, their parents were criticizing Israel all the time, but Benjamin Netanyahu was ignoring them 24/7. Some of them are definitely alive, others suspected dead. As a matter of fact, Oron Shaul was declared dead, whose place of burial is unknown by the Israeli army. And in that way, to them, they like ditched him. It's like, okay, he's dead. We don't know where he's buried. We're not going to let Hamas use him as leverage to release prisoners. Obviously, they've been ignored by Israel because Hamas tried to reach a deal with them and Israel constantly refused. When Muhammad al-Dayf, the commander-in-chief of Al-Qassam brigades, released the initial statement declaring the beginning of Al-Aqsa flood on the 7th of October, he mentioned that to Israel. He said, we tried to speak with you for many years and you were always stubborn and you refused to have a prisoner swap. So we have now kidnapped some of your generals, some of the people in Israel, to replace them for our prisoners who have been there for decades, some of them under administrative detention, and some of them are underage, under the age of 18. So, and when you talk about administrative detention, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Israel, Israeli law permits the Israeli forces to conduct administrative detention. Administrative detention, they can go to whoever, whenever, kidnap him, not tell his parents, not tell anyone, lock him away somewhere for months without anyone knowing, no legal aid, no parents, no nothing, because they suspect something or because they think he might do something without evidence. And they can do that for 6 months. After 6 months, some of them reach the 6 months, some of them less, and then they release some info that we have them. For example, we won't tell you where. They'll tell their parents, for example, they still won't give them legal aid or what have you. Many of them get tortured. Many of them get tortured to death. After 6 months, Israel can renew the status of the some people are years on administrative detention in Israel. So obviously they refused to release them, and that was one of the main reasons that Hamas conducted the 7th of October to kidnap as many Israelis as possible, to empty the Israeli prisons from Palestinian prisons, from political prisoners, security prisoners, and from prisoners who are in Israeli prisons under administrative detention. Kate is asking, the death toll in Gaza is 35K or 100K. Look, the Euromed just released figures saying, obviously 35, like the health ministry in Gaza said, which is confirmed by the WHO, by the way, World Health Organization, who criticized anyone who cast doubt on the numbers released by the Palestinian Authority in Gaza, saying that they're correct. And Euromed, I spoke about it yesterday, they said the death toll is 43,000, presuming that anyone missing is dead, which is most likely true. But obviously the health ministry in Gaza, they won't declare anyone dead up until they see the body, DNA evidence, all of that. So that's why they still say 35,000, although Euromed is saying 43, 44,000. It's not 100,000, but it can reach 100,000. It can reach 100,000. As in, due to the genocide. Why? Because you're not taking into consideration people who might die because of things that are related to the war. Health problems afterwards, for example, or diseases or whatever. Where are we? Where are we? Jao was saying the Israeli spokesperson said to peers that they killed 14,000 Hamas but did not know how many civilians. Total humiliation. Yeah. And I mean, Piers Morgan. This guy, he acts like he's like a journalist, as if he's independent, this guy. This guy's a Zionist lapdog. He's on salary. He belongs, and now they try to kind of make it as if they're not linked to Talk TV. He belongs to the Murdoch dynasty. Piers Morgan. Every time I want to talk about, do you condemn the Hamas? As if it's like a thing to go into conversation. And he brings these stupid genocidal people. Genocide, right? Telling you condemn Hamas, and no condemnation to Israel. No condemnation for genocide, but condemnation to something that Israel committed. You bloody idiot. Who massacred the Israelis? What, haven't you seen the evidence? You're either a really poor journalist, an idiot, an ignorant, who doesn't do his job properly and doesn't research or anything, or you're a Zionist slave, a dog on a leash. And most of them are like that. And we wouldn't be surprised if they are also in the blackmail list as well. Where are we? Did this, Kate, okay. Kate saying, did the son of Hamas collaborate with Israel and put Marwan in prison? The man who calls himself the son of Hamas is a crackhead, a meth head, another Zionist lapdog, and he verified is on Hasbara payroll. Hasbara office pays him. A couple of people who call themselves Arab, right? Arab Israelis, and who obviously praise Israel. They're on Hasbara payroll. And this man is a meth head, crackhead. Look at him. And most of what he says is rubbish, by the way. But what can you do? Some people sell their souls to the Zionists and become bootlickers. KM, does it make you nervous about $1 billion worth arms Biden is sending? Make me nervous? No, hardly anything makes me nervous, by the way. But what is it going to do, the 1 billion? What is it going to do? Buy them more weapons to be used on children and women? They're not going to win. Forget about it. There's no way they can win. They're delusional, these people. And thanks for the new super thanks, by the way, from the Alchemist. And Alchemist, thank you so much for your for your 3 super thanks. What people don't know is that when you says eliminate Hamas, they mean the entire population because they associate all of them with Hamas. That's what people don't understand in the West. Look, like one of you said the other day, Hamas is collateral damage. The Gazan population is the target. Hamas is collateral damage. If they kill a Hamas member, that's the accident. They're targeting the people, and that's what they do. How can you explain landing 1-ton bombs on residential buildings and hospitals and owns? Come on, they target deliberately every living thing in Gaza. Anyone who doesn't see that is an ignorant fool. Every evidence coming out of Gaza shows they target civilians deliberately, murdering them. Women walking with their children in the street, sniping them. People waiting for the internet, bomb. A truck full of refugees fleeing from the north to the south, bombing it with children's bodies everywhere, ripped to pieces. Genocidal, satanic death cult. And anyone who supports them is as depraved, if not even more depraved than them. We know them very well, and that's how they were from the beginning. A genocidal, satanic, depraved nation, bar a few people who get themselves out of the ethnocratic, supremacist, Zionist bubble. Mar-a-Lago saying, can you please speak out, block out 2024 for audience awareness? Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It's a trend, obviously, on social media. People unfollowing, as far as I know, many popular figures who are not speaking out. And some of them have lost millions in followers in a pretty short period of time, by the way. And I think it's very good. It's very important. So that these people know, like, okay, I'm following you. Expect you to say something, and you're not. And it's been very evident, the level of pressure that these people go through. I mean, Macklemore spoke about it, others as well, the level of pressure, because you still had some celebrities speaking about it. But listen, what I would also say is, don't expect or wait for a celebrity to embrace something if it's right. You know it's right. That's it. I couldn't care less if the whole world is against. I know it's right. It's day and night, as clear as the sun. So anyone with 100 to 1 billion followers, they can. I couldn't care less. Who cares when you know something's right? That's it. Doesn't matter who's saying what. But block out is good, and let these people learn. Like this abhorrent CEO of Pure Gym the other day in this BBC Question Time, defending arms sales to Israel. Who are you even? Who is this depraved man? The next second, everyone started canceling their memberships, and good. These people should be punished. Blatantly supporting a genocide. And 7 months in, it's not like, in the early days where, even though to be fair, I have no mercy with anyone who wasn't on the right side from the beginning, from my perspective. Probably because you've been there for such a long time. I couldn't care less, really. But anyway, if someone in the beginning told you, okay, I didn't know, what have you, but 7 months in, coming to say, oh, I support arming Israel, watch your dynasty collapse. That's all I can say. And these people, they should feel it. Good. Block them, boycott them, divest. And it should get bigger as well. Where were we? Okay, so the block out. Okay, KM, and I'll finish it with that. KM saying, Mahmoud, do you think a billion can change matters? I think you said, yeah. $1 billion can change the outcome. Look, no, of course not. A billion cannot change the outcome because think about it this way. Tens of billions didn't change the outcome. Why should another billion change the outcome? What are they going to buy with another billion? More jets, more bombs, what target more civilians? It's not going to work. They have no hope, they have no chance. Israel's only hope for survival is them looking very, very deep in the mirror, looking into their dark history, their dark past, repenting, providing people equality, giving the Palestinian people their historical rights, the right to return, equal rights, and that's the only way. If not, then goodbye. And it's most likely the goodbye option, seeing by how they're going. As a matter of fact, I thought it was the goodbye from the 7th of October. And we'll finish it there. Thank you so much, everyone who joined in. Again, sorry for the initial technical issues. Thank you for your patience. Someone's asking me, AC, how do you become a member? Go on my membership section on my channel. If you go on my channel, there are sections like videos, live, community tab, membership. You can choose any membership that you like. So thank you, everyone. And yes, KW, boycott everyone, every Zio bot, every slave, boycott them. Good. Thank you so much for joining in, guys. I really enjoy our live streams. If you haven't watched my other videos, go ahead. I have about 3 published. They're quite short. Thank you so much for anyone who sent super thanks. Let me mention all of you again, just in case I missed anyone. Koopa Coop, Real Shaka P, Stephen Burrows, Noah HTP, The Alchemist, thank you, Alex Glanz, Snoopster 007, Virzak, Hanife Demiral, The Alchemist, thank you so much. You have several, The Alchemist, thank you very much. And sorry if I missed anyone. And thank you for everyone who participated. Obviously, if I have missed any of your comments, sorry, because they sometimes go up and down, changes from live to top. But I'm here with you regularly, hopefully. So apart from that, enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care and have a good rest. See you soon.